Good morning, Journey students. Happy Thursday and last day of your work week. Excited for you guys to be done with the week. You've worked pretty hard and you've learned a lot about waves. Today I had lined up for just a quizzes, but as I started to look at your flip grids and look at the questions that I wanted you to be able to answer on quizzes for this week, I quickly realized that there's one more vocabulary word that we need to cover and a flashcard that we need to cover before we get started. So I'm just going to do a very quick notes session for you on Pear Deck that I want you to fill in. Remember that once you create these notes, they're always welcome to be opened for an evidence test and used as a support as you work your way through that. While you answer this quizzes today, or while you answer this or fill in this Pear Deck, this Pear Deck for today, we are taking one flashcard and creating it. Not two today, but just one. The wave flashcard of the day today is the word frequency and how it relates to the word waves. That answer and that flashcard could be done while you were working on Pear Deck to save you some time. The definition is coming on slide number 4, just to give you a heads up. But in slide number 3, I want you to just think about these questions. How frequently do you blink your eyes every minute? How often do you cook for your family? How many breaths do you take per hour? And I want you to think, what do all these questions have in common as I continue to read them? How frequently do you brush your teeth? How many times do you go outside per day? If we look at all these questions, what is it that I am asking you every single time? If you guessed it, you would be saying, how many times does something happen within a certain period? And so, as we talk about waves, we're talking about exactly this. How many times does a wave occur within a certain period, a certain measure of time? So, let's take a look at how we would use this word. Frequency is the number of, and we're going to be filling in the blank. You've got 4 on this slide. Frequency is the number of wavelengths. We learned the word wavelength already, in that one wavelength is the width of one crest and one trough. And so if we are measuring crest and trough pairs and how many of them are happening within a certain amount of time, you now have entered the measurement of frequency. When we measure in seconds, waves per second, we put a new label on it. We don't say waves per second, but we use the word hertz. That is the word that is going in the second blank right here. And it is spelled Herz, measured in hertz. The higher the frequency. Now, when I say this, I'm going to rephrase this and say the higher number of crests and troughs that occur will result in the more energy there is. In fact, if you made a wave, if you were in charge of creating, think about those waves that you made yesterday with your flip grid. You guys did a great job with that. If you were creating waves that have a high frequency, if you had to shake a slinky or a rope or create waves in water that have a high frequency, that there's so many waves happening per second, would it take more energy to make it? And the answer there is yes. If you have to create more crests and troughs per second, it's more energy. Ultimately, our goal with waves is when they are occurring that we're measuring the energy level, that we can understand what it is causing to happen and whether there's damage happening or whether the goal number of frequency is occurring. Even with sound, when we hit certain frequencies, we can hit perfect pitch and make a song sound beautiful just by the number of waves that are occurring per second. And that will come later when we start talking about sound waves in longitudinal waves. The number of waves, please number these 4 waves in order from highest frequency to lowest frequency. So we're counting how many crest and trough pairs are occurring within this space. Now, easily, which one seems to be the most crest and trough pairs that are happening? If you're saying number 4, then correct. That's our winner for highest frequency. If you're looking at which one has the lowest amount of crest and troughs and wavelengths that are happening, if you guess number 3, you're correct. That has the lowest frequency. Now, I hate to say it, but this was somewhat of a trick question. Number 1 and 2, if you take a look, it seems like one has more energy than another, and you would say, oh, well, that has a higher frequency. But if you actually are counting crest and trough pairs, notice here that crest, 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 crest. They match crest troughs the entire way down. Even though the amplitude of wave one is not as large as the amplitude of wave two, the frequency of wave two is the same as wave one. But if we talk about energy, we'll get to that in just a moment. But frequency for waves one and two, they're at a tie for this. So we actually only have 3 placements for highest to lowest frequency on this slide. Now let's get to the specifics here though. If I were to ask you to create a wave in a rope that looks like any of these, or a wave in a slinky that looks like any of these, and to rank them in order of how much energy it's required from you, well, hands down, number 4 is going to require the most energy. And number 3 is going to require the lowest energy. Do you see the connection there? Higher frequency means higher energy. But when we see number 1 and number 2, we see frequencies that are identical. They have the same number of crests and troughs. Well, then you've got to think about the amplitude in combination to that one. Number 2 wins for a little bit higher energy than number 1. So if we go in order from highest to lowest, it's 4, 2, 1, and then 3 for your answers. Good luck with entering those into it. It might help you to explain that in your answer too, by listening to this video and typing it in. That's it for notes for frequency. It's pretty basic. It's just counting how many waves are happening per second. But please do this. Number 1, go back to slide 4. Make sure that you have your flashcard for today and that you're adding that to your collection. We're continuing to become very good at our vocabularies. Practice them every day. Speaking of practicing, number 2, go into the quizzes questions. Please work until you get 80%. Now you're getting scored in your daily work for completion. So I give you the full credit if you achieve 80%. Maybe it takes you the first time, maybe it takes you 4 or 5 times to get that 80%. Once I see that you have it, you get all the points. So if you want 100% on the daily work for today, make sure that you get up to 80%. Over the weekend, Friday and Monday, you don't have any distance learning. So if you have any catch-up work to do for any of your classes, please use that time wisely. More to come next week. Of course, we will continue with our Waves unit, and so stay tuned for that. Please pick the choice on the right that fits you best. Hopefully you are aware that you are taking one flashcard, working on quizzes, and catching up on any missing work. Have a good day, you guys. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.